Hi guys, so today we are going to look at the Python certification PCAP mock exam. So what we are going to do is I'll do the test, I'll also explain each question and answer, and I'll explain you the format. So the exam is 40 questions and we have been given 65 minutes to solve. 70% is the passing max, which means we have to do at least 28 answers out of 40 correct to pass the exam, and questions will be of multiple type questions, which is mainly like we have to pick something. There is no subjective, we don't have to describe. So my name is Premasim Jain, and then please subscribe to my channel and like the video. So let's get started. Let's start the test. We have got 65 minutes, which is 1 hour and 5 minutes. So I'll solve each questions and will explain you the answers for that. Link for this mock test is mentioned in the description of the video. So here goes question number first with four answers. Choose the correct output of the following code. So it is saying 10 minus 20. So if it is plus, plus basically with string acts as the concatenated operator, which means it would add and then print it. But with this minus, I don't think there is such operator, so it will error out. See, this is erroring out. So what we need to say is that this is a syntax error. Now for the error also, this is a type error, sorry. Now syntax error is something wherein the program doesn't even run. That is syntax error. So this one is because minus is a operand and these are not the proper operator. Sorry, hyphen is a operator and these are the operands and this is not proper, so we'll get the type error. Uh, if this would have been proper type, the minus operator would have been worked perfectly well on operand. So that is why this is type error. Question to choose the correct output of the following code. We have got a function which is letter word, and then we are trying to print the type of this. So usually what happens is uh, what we are trying to do is we are trying to pass multiple arguments, and this is how is the way of Python to take variable arguments, and this is type tuple basically. So this would be the type tuple. Let's verify this, and yes, we are correct. Choose the correct output of the following code. We have got a list and then we are doing a range. Let's do this real quick. Now here we are going in a range from 0 to whatever is the length, and then if this is multiple of 5, each element, whatever element, then we are trying to append 9 in this list. uh, if that is not the case, then whatever is the last element, if that element basically uh, whatever would be the last index, if that is equal to the element, then we are going to add these two lists. uh, Basically we are trying to add whatever is the element at index 2 with index I. Yeah, it's a little bit complex question, but no worries. So what will happen is it would come here and then it would append 9, but this would remain same because this executes only one time, but this would keep on executing. So like each time gets evaluated. So at the last time when this 9 would get appended over here, at that time it at that time it would compare if I is equal to whatever is the last index 9. If that is the case, it would print this, otherwise it would print nothing basically. So in this case it won't print anything because the element 9 and the index, they are not going to be the same, so we'll say no output. This is pretty much similar, except this has, let's try to solve this one. This is similar to the last, except this is grabbing the each element of the list individually and appending it once we meet the five, and we are evaluating the last element, and then whatever would be that element, if it is equal to the index, that time we are printing I plus list whatever is the number 2. So let's dry run. For assume it comes here, then it has the 9. 9 would be the last index. So of course this index would be ninth. Once we like this, the value of this will be 9. So 9 will be equal to 9. So this would get printed. So this value would be 9, and index 2 will be the third. 1, 2, 3, 4. 9 plus 4 is 13. So it will be 13. See, which among the following line of code will raise an error? So this is a biodata class, and we have the constructor here. Then we are trying to initialize the instance variable name and age, assigning the x and y value, and we are printing both of these, which is name and the value. And at the end, we are pretty much not doing anything. So they are saying which among the following code will raise an error. So let's see where the error. Okay, I guess this will raise the error. Why? Because usually we don't use semicolon unless we write two instructions at the same line. If we do that, then semicolon would be used as a line separator. And here we don't have a line separator, that is why this is giving the problem. So this would run. If this is not there, then we would see the error because of line number 4, which is this line. Choose the correct output. We have a class circle which takes the radius. This is a private variable. Then we have sphere which extends circle inheritance. Then we are assigning a variable r. R is not an instance variable. R is a local variable which grabs the value from the parent class, and this cannot be done because this is a private variable. So here we would get the error, and then it is trying to calculate the, I guess, the volume of the sphere. So what would happen? Error would happen. So I'll prove you this by running the code. Which of the correct output of the following code? You have a number, then you are grabbing the values, then you have a nested loop j, which goes from j to I plus 1. So each time it would keep on increasing the count, and then it is trying to do a character which would be basically the value of the number, the ASCII equivalent of the character basically, and then it would print it in the straight line because we have the AND with the empties. So it will not print each time when you do print, it won't go to the new line, and you are incrementing the number. So how this would happen is, first thing is it would run for 5 times, which is 0 to 4th index. And each time when it comes, first time it would do first, then 2 times, then 3 times. Now it won't print it as a number 65 because it is converting it into the character CHR, and capital A has 65. So this would go 5 times, 0th, first, 2, 3, and 4. So this would be the answer. Now another thing is it won't be A, B, C. Why? Because once it comes here, we are trying to print it like the same character over and over again. This name of the value is just changing once with the outer loop, not with the inner loop. So inner loop is doing the repetition and outer loop is incrementing this. So this should be the right answer. What will be the text shown in file after executing the code? you are opening the file in right binary format, and you are saying you are actually writing to a binary array, and you have these two values. When you close, this is the Unicode. Now the expectation is what will happen here. So this would print Java ASCII, or it would print like the number binary, or it would print like this. So this printed Java as we expected. So what is it actually doing is it will convert this whatever the string we have given in the ASCII format, and it would write it into the file. But when you open the file in any text editor, you would be able to see it in the normal text. Still, we will keep this on review so we can come back again on this. Consider the below code is written inside test.py file. So let's do this. You have name underscore underscore, and you're trying to type. So if I guess you might have seen it several times in the files that people would write if underscore underscore name, which is a private variable, is equal to underscore underscore name, and then you would run the code whatever you have to run as script. Because what happens in Python, if you don't do this, then it would run the whenever this script is getting imported, it would also execute that. That is why we do this, that if you are running it as your main, and main would might import several other files, which in turn might import several other files, right? It's a chain. So if you are starting whatever is the main thread or the first file, it would give the name as main. Otherwise, if you are trying to import, so from wherever file it is trying to import, the name would be the name of that module. So that is how it happens. So the type of this is of course going to be string. So this is going to print main and string. Let me show you this real quick. So this is main and string. This is running as a script. But if you will import this file from somewhere else, this would print something else. I'll also show you. For example, if you say import bin in this, and then if you run this, so this file is only doing an import, and you're running this particular file as main. But once this gets imported, it is going to print the name of the importer module, and then this would be skipped because this is not the main. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a dictionary over here, and then if the fourth element, not the fourth element, but the dictionary with the key 4 is not none, it would delete that fourth element, and then it will iterate over I in D. So I in D will give you the keys of D, and then they would be printed linearly. So 1, 2, 3 will be printed, and that would be printed as list. If you want to print it as this guy, then you might need to use items. And to print it as list, you could always do it like this, And then if you only want to print the values, you can do like this here. Choose the correct output of the following code. This is something similar. What are we trying to do is we will delete the fourth element. Okay, so now we are trying to print it like this, as same in the third question, like the last question. Consider the below code in consider that the below code is written inside test1.py and you are trying to import in test2.py. What would be the correct output? So this guy is trying to print and this file is getting imported. So as soon as you import, first print of file test1, test2, and then print of test2 file will happen. So test2 would be main for sure, and test1 is supposed to be test2, I guess. But we can try this. So just imagine that this is like this. And this is bin1. And now we run this. So test1 is bin1. Okay, so whatever the name the module it got printed, it is printing that module name and not the main. So if we would have it as, for example, bin10, I'm just refactoring and renaming it as bin10. So this would ask it that it's bin10, and if you run this, you would see bin10. So whatever is the module name, that would get printed here. Choose the correct output of the following code. This will give the error of either it could be type or the value. So it should be the error of type because strings are not welcome and this is a string. So we got the type error. Choose the correct output of the following code. We have a function which takes variable input. The result is 0. We are initializing a variable with literal 0. and you are running it in the range, whatever are the elements in the tuple, you are adding all of them by casting it in integer, and you are trying to print the result. So you can do it as n plus n minus n pl- n plus n plus 1 by 2, which means 5 multiplied 6, which will be 30. 30 by 2 is 15. So it should come as 15. Or you would just add all of them manually all together and you would get this number. So 2 and 3 is 5, 4 and 1 is 5 and 5. So you have 3, 5, which is 15. If the file sys.text already contains text Java, then what will be printed in the console after the execution of this? So we are opening it in read mode with binary, and we are trying to read the file. So we already have the file sys.txt and it already has Java inside it. So it is picking B. Now please remember that sometime you would see S if it is being opened in the string mode. If it is opened in the binary mode, you would see it as B. So for string, it would just leave it, but for binary, it would print B here. And a lot of time when you print a JSON, it would always have S to show the type that this is string when you do those operations. So here they showed you the Unicode point and what will be printed. This will be printed. Choose the correct output of the following. You are using the operator with a space. So what happens is you have Tesla, which is 5 word. So this would go space x Tesla, then space x Tesla. This would fit in the 4 characters, but with 10, it would be right aligned, and uh, some space will remain there. We can always add it for the review at the last. So that's how. Choose the correct output of the following code. So you are doing the negation operator. Now what negation does is it would invert minus 10. 10 would become minus 10. And then this might become basically 11. So 10, this converts minus 10 will be plus 10. So it would come back to whatever is the original position. But here it negated it. So we will review it at the end. Choose the correct statement regarding a constructor in Python. A constructor cannot return a value. Uh, yeah, which is true, or it can return none. A constructor can return the none value. A constructor can return no value, but constructor cannot return a value. So a bit of explanation. The constructor is used for constructing or initializing the instance variables. So its purpose is not as a method which would return something. It's just to do the initialization or construct the object. So that is why it cannot return you anything. That's how the language architecture has been designed. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have A, B, C, D, and you are doing string formatting. So they have A, B, C, D in sequence, but here they tricked you. Is 0, 2, 1, 3 instead of 0, 1, 2, 3. So how would it come? Is Tesla makes electric motors. Tesla makes electric cars. This should be the answer. what will be printed in the console when the first number entered is 20 and the second number is 10. So these values would be inputted as a string, and when you use the plus operator in string, it would do the concatenation. So you might expect to see 2010 as a string. Choose the correct output of the following code. Now you have X and you are trying to grab each character, and whenever there is a space, it is going to print, which means a new line, because print does not have AND here, else it would print the empty space, which means the characters all together. So this should be printed. Choose the correct output of the following. You are doing a range, and then here you are iterating one number more each time in the nested inner loop, and you're trying to print the star, and once you finish the inner loop you're trying to enter a new line character with a space. So typically this would print like this here. Choose the correct output. So this orange in the scope is not been defined, so you would see the name error because this is a variable which is not been defined, and if you run this it is going to give you the name error. How could it be a syntax error? Syntax error would be if you do like these three and run this, then it would give you the syntax error. Syntax means the way you give instructions to the code. If there is problem in the way you are trying to instructing, for example, I'm speaking you in English. If I start speaking you in Chinese or Mandarin, you might not get those instructions. So that is what is called as the syntax issue, syntax error. But if I'm giving you the instruction in English, but I am giving you some incorrect instruction, for example, you put your finger on the keyboard and then inside your screen, which cannot happen. It's a wrong instruction. So that is where you will get the errors, which could be type error or name error or something else. Name error, value error, type error. So they cannot be caught in try and catch or try or except block. But like the syntax error cannot be caught in try block, but the other errors can be non-syntax errors. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a tuple with X. You are trying to append something in tuple, which I don't think, because tuple is immutable. So on set or list you can do that, but I am not sure if you can append it in a tuple. Yeah. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have try divide by 0, 0 division error. You are trying to accept. So if you have caught this, one block would run at any point in time. If that block is not like, you might not see both blocks running together, so this would get printed, and else would only print if this try block is successful in running all the statements inside it. If there is any error, then else won't work. It is bit ambiguous, like the try else block, because if else is just opposite of that. In if else, either instructions in if will run or else will run. But here in try catch, instruction if they work inside the try block, then they would run in else block. But if they are broken somehow in try block, the else instruction won't work. And this same construct is applied in while and for loop as well, with for else and while else. Fill in the blank in the following code so that when it is executed, it will print true. So you have a company name, you have a constructor, you're assigning the value to the name. Now you are trying to find out if has attribute, if employee object has attribute company name. So no, employee object does not have it because this is a class variable or a static variable. So this guy has this attribute, true. The employee object has name attribute, true. Self dot whatever, this is called as the instance attribute. Then again you have a class has name, no, because this is there with the mm, object, not with the class. And class has the salary attribute, no. So these two would be the right answers. And if you want, we can always run that in Python console. So I have this class. Now if I say has attribute, it takes two values. First is the class or the object. For example, I have employee class and then the name of the attribute, which would be name. It should print false because that doesn't exist. But if I will create the object of it, if I would create the object, okay, so this won't work either. If I go here with company name, let's do this here. So I think this should print true because the instance variable is there. Let's see. This is printing false because has attr. So has attr is not even printing anything. So this is giving everything as false, which is strange. We'll review it at the end. Okay, I got you. So this thing is the name without the uh, quote. That is one. So this is true, which is right. Now this should be false, which is right. And then this should be true because this is the class and class has that attribute. But if you make the instance of that class, this should be true because instance gets the class variables as well. So you can access this with the class name as well. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have calculate method and you are trying to take the square of whatever is the number from lambda. Now lambda you it gives the implicit return, but if you add another return statement which is explicit, it might throw an error, and then whatever is the return from that lambda you are trying to get, you are invoking, and so Z is out of scope. There are a lot of errors in this, starting with the return. So first thing is this return is a problem, lambda. Once you fix this, then this is a local variable inside this function. So it is not available here. So that is the second problem. For example, if you return the Z variable here, and then you define this Z, when you call the calculate, this should be fine. But then X is supposed to be a value, so you have to pass 4. And now this should work. So it would take a square. So you got the Z here, here. When you call calculate, you have to pass 4 here. And once you get Z here, you have to do it like this. Yeah. So when you do calculate, you are trying to return lambda. You're not executing it, so you can do it like this actually. So as soon as you get this x, you would call this lambda. Lambda would return the value, and you can just print that value. So this should run fine. You got this, you ran this, you got the value, you returned it to calculate. Okay, so this should go like X. Yeah, now this is fine. So let me explain you what we are doing here. We have a calculate function with one parameter, and then it defines a function which isn't invoked here. This is a lambda function, anonymous or lambda, but we assigned it to a variable. Now we are invoking this with whatever the parameter this method got, and then this will return the square of this. Once it returns that square, this would be assigned here and it will be printed. Choose the correct output of the code. You have three tuples and you are trying to print them all together by using the concatenation operator. And that can be done. So it is supposed to be like this. And this could be list as well. I'm not sure if you can concatenate list with tuple. No, you can't. You can only concatenate tuples because tuples are immutable. So like just like strings. With single element you have to use this comma. So this is fine. Now if let's say if you have two strings, two lists, how would this work? So with two lists, it is going to combine the values. And then it is writing here, but you can always assign it to a new variable. That can be printed. This is how you combine two. And for example, if they are set, and if you try to combine the set, it would remove the duplicates and will give you another set. But apparently with the set, the plus operator doesn't work. So you might need to manually do the operation on set. So what you can do is t1 dot append t1. For example, so append is not there. Add, let's try add. So you cannot add another set to a set. Seems like. So let's try to add a number. And then this doesn't return you anything, so you would have to print T2 again. Wonderful. So it has removed this duplicate because one was already there and you try to add. Which among the following cannot be used as a variable? This. Fill in the blank in the below code so that when it is executed, it will print true. So set roll number is a method which is an attribute of the object, and roll number won't get updated unless you call this method. So this doesn't exist, that's why it won't come. We can run this. We have a lot of time, like 20 minutes and 10 more questions to be done. So we will go with print and we will say has attribute. It would first take the object. So we will say st as student, and what we want to check on is name. This would be true. Second is roll number. This is not defined at this point in time, so false. Set roll number, which is a method which is defined and it's an attribute, true. And then student class, does it have the student? No, that is false. Which among the following code after execution will print true? This is interesting. So you have A, child is B, then C is subclass. C is subclass of A. Yes, because it's whatever is in the hierarchy that would show up. C is instance or a subclass of that. So it doesn't have to be just the immediate, but the grandparent also gives true in its subclass. Same construct here, B is child of A, C is child of B, and then they're trying to ask if B is subclass of A. That is true. Same construct is subclass, C is subclass of A and B. So what happens here, if it is subclass of any one of these, this will be true. Now B is subclass of C and A. So it is not subclass of C, but it is subclass of A. So it will be true. B is subclass of A and A. True. If A is subclass of A, probably it's true. If A is subclass of C, it should be false. If A is subclass of B, it would be false. So we can validate this. I have class A has. I would quickly create B and C. B is inherited by A, or C has parent as B. Now we will do print if subclass. What it does is you have to, for example, do if B is subclass of A, printed true. So we need to check if A is subclass of A, it should be true. So anything in the hierarchy will be okay. Now if you will check if C is subclass of, no, let's say if B is subclass of C, false, because it's a superclass. But if you do like this, if B is subclass of, then true. Because you pass the tuple, and if it is subclass of any one thing, it should be okay. Which among the following code after execution would print false? So true plus true. So this operator should give error. So this shouldn't even happen. We can try that also here. If you have true plus true. Oh, it took one. So let's do this. X is equal to true plus true. So X is true. Now is instance of bool false. Second is class A, class B. You instantiated the object B and you are checking if object is instance of A. This should be true. Instead of is subclass, you are trying is instance and you are trying to create the instance of B and checking if it is the instance of A, and this should work fine. So you have A, B, object A has been instantiated, is instance, and then you have object B. This should be false because it's other way, so that cannot be concluded. So this should be false. Now you have object which is a set, and they are asking if this object is a set or a list. So this should be true. If this is among set or list, it's true. So the only false we get here is this kind. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have try and accept A ka value A is 0, print. So this is not a valid operator inside the print. Either it would raise error or it could be syntax problem. Let's check. So this was raised as error because you cannot. What's the error? Let's print that error as well. Okay. A is an invalid keyword argument. Okay. So we are trying to give the keyword argument. That is the problem. If the system.text already contained text welcome, then what will be the text present in the file after execution? When you do write, fresh write, it would overwrite. So it would say to programming. And I could always show you. Yes. So we have this file, it has something inside it, but when you write it, it is going to create it fresh. So it would override whatever was there. If this file contains three things, for example, a same gen, which is my name, and then you are trying to print, what you need to do is fill in the blanks so that below code will print text as written in the file. So there are multiple ways of doing this. First is you can just do file.read and whatever are the contents, they would get printed. That is first. Second is you can, so this one is correct, do -1. So any number less than 0 would read all the values. Third is if you do -10, minus whatever, no matter, it would read all the values. But if you do any positive number, it would just read certain characters which matches to that size. So it would only print first time and not everything. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have a class, you have a method info, and you're printing. Class B is a subclass without implementation. You instantiated object B and you're calling info. This should absolutely work and print class A. Fill in the blanks so that after execution of the below code, the code will print please rate this course. So you have a class without implementation and you are trying to raise a class. That shouldn't happen because this is not a subclass of exception. Still you are raising. So that's fine. When you raise, you have two exceptions. So if you catch A here, so A is being raised. If you will catch A, this should get printed technically, but that doesn't happen because you are trying to catch A. An exception must be derived from base exception. So it prints nothing. Now, if you catch as base exception, please rate this course. This is caught over here. If you do it exception, this would be caught over here. But if you do OS error, this won't be caught. And they'll say, write review of this course. And you cannot have two accepts. And you cannot have a raise just like that. Choose the correct output of the following code. You have student and then you have grace. What is this grace? Because if it is self dot grace, then you are trying to call it an object. So it's nothing here. So it will error out. But what kind of name? It would be name error because this method with this name is not there. Choose the correct output. You have a tuple and you are trying to multiply this tuple by 2. So you will get 1, 2, 1, 2. This same phenomena happens with the list also. I mean, not with the list, but with a string. So if you do the same thing as a list, 1, 2, 3, and if you say list, so it also did it with a list. Let's see if it does with set. With set it cannot do. With list it can do. With strings also it can do. Choose the correct output of the following code. So you have two sets and you are trying to add them, and this would error out because we already checked before that plus operator doesn't work with the set. So we are 5 minutes before time, which is really good and cool. Let's see, we might get 90%, but let's see. Yay, we got 92%. Congratulations. So the answers which were incorrect, let's review those. So we will review incorrect first. So this is the one. Constructor cannot return a value. This is correct. Cannot return a value. I explained you that it should not return no value or it can return none. I'll also show you here real quick. So I have a class C and then I have a constructor here. I print class and if I say return something and if I will create the instance, this would give trouble because it should not return or it should return none, not string. So if you return none, this should be good. But if you just use return, it would by default return none, so this should be good. But if you try to return anything apart from none, this will give you trouble. Let's say any number or string or boolean, then it would give you trouble. If you remove this by default, that is fine. So this is first. Second is this one. Yeah, we actually tried it. So the true and true will count it as a number. So if you will say x is equal to true plus false minus true, plus true plus true plus true. So what is it doing is in Python internally it converts all the true to number 1 and false to number 0. So that is how it works internally. It calculates the boolean into a number and do fine with these operators. But if you have any string in mix, then it would be trouble because the operand doesn't support that. Yeah, so these were two incorrect, and then we mark few for the review as well. So let's look at those. So this is the one. What it is saying is that byte array Java ASCII is used because the file is opened in write binary mode. Therefore, the write function will take byte array object or byte object. Mode opens the file in writing mode, overrides everything in here. Text return in this will be this. Text passed as a byte array will be this. So we already tried it. Here they have just shown the output that if the space is till 5, it would fit. But after that, it would right align itself to whatever is the number of spaces you're giving. And this one is a negation. So negation is represented as minus of y plus 1. So this will be minus of 10 plus 1, which is minus 11. And this would be minus of this. So that's how it would be 10. This we already checked and printed. So we are good. We are good with all of these. We tried them. Yeah, guys. So yeah, that is all. And thanks for mm, learning the PCAP examination and doing the PCAP mock exam. So if you are preparing for it, best of luck, and leave a comment if you like this video, and also inform me once you pass the exam. Share your score with me. Thank you. Bye.